Hi, and welcome. My name is Lindsay from the Literacy Department at the Mastix Merchant Shirley Community Library. Today's English lesson will be about hobbies. You will read, write, listen, and speak. This lesson is good for beginner and intermediate students. Grab a notebook and a pencil and follow along. Sometimes you will pause the video to practice. So let's begin. Let's start today's lesson with an idiom. An idiom is an expression that is understood as a whole phrase. It has a different meaning than you may think at first. Have you ever heard the idiom, "It's raining cats and dogs"? Do you really think cats and dogs are falling from the sky on a rainy day? Well, it really means that it's raining pretty hard outside. Today's idiom is time flies. What do you think this means? A clock with wings is flying? No. The meaning is time goes by very quickly, so quickly that you almost didn't notice it. For example, your daughter is already in college? Time flies. We often say, time flies when you're having fun. Notice the contraction your is made of the two words you are. You are, your. Time flies when you're having fun. Think of how this idiom applies to your life. When does time fly for you? Usually, it's when you're doing something you enjoy, a hobby. A hobby is an interest or activity done in one's free time for enjoyment. It's a noun, singular, hobby, plural, hobbies. Repeat after me. Hobby, hobbies. Take a minute to think of some examples of a hobby. Pause the video now and make a list in your notebook. For example, painting, chess, or playing the guitar. Did you think of a few? Good job. Let's warm up and build your vocabulary. The directions are, look at the pictures and words. Label each picture. For example, what hobby is this? Watch TV or television. Let's look at some more hobbies. What do you see? Now, let's look at the words and work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. Cook, read, garden, swim, dance, watch TV, fish, sing, walk, play a sport, go to the park, shop. Great job. Pause the video now and match the words with the pictures. Let's see how you did. Cook, garden, sing, dance, read, go to the park, shop, fish, swim, play a sport, or you can name the specific sport. For example, play soccer, play baseball, play football, or play basketball. And last but not least, walk. You can also say exercise or go to the gym. We have busy lives, but making time for your hobby is important. Why? Having a hobby is good for the mind, body, and soul. It reduces stress. It's fun. It increases your confidence to try new things. I can do it. You have feelings of accomplishment. I did it. Having a hobby is social. You can make friends. Having a hobby helps you stay in the moment. It's creative. And it helps with your focus and concentration. Let's practice asking and answering some questions. This is for our beginner students. If you're ready for more of a challenge, then skip this slide and go to the next one. Let's begin. We will use the vocabulary words that we practiced on the last slide. But your homework is to practice these questions and answers with a family member or friend. And you can use any vocabulary words that work for you and your life. You ready? The question, what is your hobby? What is your hobby? The answer, my hobby is to blank. My hobby is to blank. And in this blank, you're going to put the verb in its infinitive form. For example, cook, read, watch TV, fish, shop, dance, walk, or swim. Let's practice. What is your hobby? My hobby is to cook. What is your hobby? My hobby is to read. What is your hobby? My hobby is to watch TV. What is your hobby? My hobby is to fish. Now it's your turn. I'll ask the question and you answer. Let's start here with shop. What is your hobby? I hope you said, my hobby is to shop. Let's try the next one. What is your hobby? My hobby is to dance. Let's continue. What is your hobby? My hobby is to walk. And the last one, what is your hobby? My hobby is to swim. Nice job. Now you can also use the plural. Remember, plural is two or more of something. The plural of hobby is hobbies. Notice we change the Y to an I and add ES. The question, what are your hobbies? What are your hobbies? The answer, my hobbies are to blank and blank. My hobbies are to blank and blank. So let's practice. What are your hobbies? My hobbies are to cook and read. What are your hobbies? My hobbies are to watch TV and fish. Now it's your turn. What are your hobbies? I hope you said, my hobbies are to shop and dance. What are your hobbies? My hobbies are to walk and swim. Nice job. Now you may also hear a similar question. What do you like to do in your free time? And the question is asking you about your hobbies. You would answer it by saying, I like to blank for one thing, or I like to blank and blank for two or more. So for example, what do you like to do in your free time? I like to cook. What do you like to do in your free time? I like to read. What do you like to do in your free time? I like to watch TV and fish. Now in your notebook, you're going to practice this question and the answer. So with the next 4 words, practice writing, what do you like to do in your free time? And the answer, I like to blank, or I like to blank and blank. So pause the video and write these questions and answers in your notebook now. Now let's practice asking and answering some questions with our intermediate students. Make sure you understand the material taught in the previous slide before doing this one. And if you're not ready for this slide, then that's okay. Skip it and move on to the next one. Your homework will be to practice asking and answering these questions with a family member or friend. And you can use any vocabulary words for hobbies that work for you and your life. We're going to use the following vocabulary words for hobbies: to ride a bicycle, to write, to take pictures or photography, to paint. The question, what is your hobby? The answer, my hobby is blank. Now you'll notice that we're not using the word to, and we're not going to use the verb in its infinitive form. Instead, we get rid of the word to, and we use the verb with its ing ending. So let's take a look at our examples. To ride a bicycle will change to riding a bike or bicycle. To write changes to writing. To take pictures or photography changes to taking pictures. But notice we don't add an ing to the end of photography. We don't say photographying. We just use the word photography. And to paint changes to painting. So let's practice. What is your hobby? My hobby is riding a bike. What is your hobby? My hobby is writing. What is your hobby? My hobby is taking pictures. Or my hobby is photography. What is your hobby? My hobby is painting. Great. And you can also use the plural. What are your hobbies? My hobbies are blank and blank. Remember that you need 2 or more for the plural. So let's practice. What are your hobbies? My hobbies are riding a bike and writing. What are your hobbies? My hobbies are taking pictures and painting. Or my hobbies are photography and painting. You can also use a similar question. What do you like to do in your free time? And the answer, I like blank. Or in the plural, I like blank and blank. So for example, I like riding a bike. I like writing. I like taking pictures and painting. Or I like photography and painting. So now pause the video and in your notebook, practice these questions and answers with a few verbs of your own. Make sure you use the verb with its ing ending. Now, let's work on your reading. This reading is for a beginner level. If you're ready for a challenge, skip this reading and fast forward to the next slide for an intermediate reading. Let's begin, and I'd like you to listen first. I love to play soccer. I am on a soccer team at school. I'm the goalie. I like soccer because it is good exercise, and I like to be outside. I hope to be a professional soccer player one day. My hobby is to garden. I usually garden on Saturday. I like to plant flowers in my backyard. The bees and butterflies like my flowers too. Also, I like to grow vegetables like tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. I play video games a lot. There are many different types of video games, like sports, action, and fantasy. You can play games on a phone, computer, or video game system. Do you prefer Xbox or PlayStation? My hobby is listening to music. Listening to music helps me feel better if I am sad, mad, or stressed. Sometimes I sing, but only in the shower. My favorite singer is Jennifer Lopez. Now let's read it again. And this time, I want you to read with me. Then we're going to match each paragraph to a picture and learn a bonus vocabulary word. So let's read together, nice and slow. I love to play soccer. I'm on a soccer team at school. I'm the goalie. I like soccer because it is good exercise and I like to be outside. I hope to be a professional soccer player one day. Which picture matches the paragraph? This one. And the bonus word, cleats. Let's continue and read together. My hobby is to garden. I usually garden on Saturday. I like to plant flowers in my backyard. The bees and butterflies like my flowers too. Also, I like to grow vegetables like tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. Which picture matches the paragraph? This one. And the bonus word, shovel. Let's continue and read together. I play video games a lot. There are many different types of video games like sports, action, and fantasy. You can play games on a phone, computer, or video game system. Do you prefer Xbox or PlayStation? Which picture matches the paragraph? This one. And the bonus word, controller. Let's continue and read together. My hobby is listening to music. Listening to music helps me feel better if I am sad, mad, or stressed. Sometimes I sing, but only in the shower. My favorite singer is Jennifer Lopez. Which picture matches the paragraph? This one. And the bonus word, headphones. Great job reading. Now pause the video and practice reading this again. Now let's work on your reading if you're an intermediate level. If you just did the beginner level and that was a good fit for you, and you're not ready for this next challenge, skip this part and go to the next slide. If you're ready to begin, I'd like you to listen first. Patricia, I love to cook. I like planning meals, shopping for ingredients, and cooking for my family. I like to cook because it is relaxing. Also, I like to control the ingredients and preparation. The best thing about cooking is eating and spending time with my family and friends. One thing I don't like about cooking is cleaning up afterwards. I'm lucky because my children usually clean the kitchen for me. Edward, my favorite thing to do is read. When I visit the library to get new books, I usually have a book in mind, but occasionally I browse the shelves. If I'm having trouble finding a good book, I will ask friends or family for recommendations. I like to read about new people and places. I can go on an adventure without leaving my comfortable couch. Jeffrey. Fishing is my favorite activity. I love to go to the water early in the morning when it is peaceful and quiet. Having fresh fish for dinner is a bonus. My favorite fish is bass. Sometimes I feel frustrated if I don't catch anything, but I remind myself that I am fishing for fun, not for work. Gloria. Tennis is my sport of choice. In tennis, you can play singles or doubles. I prefer singles. Tennis is good exercise for my body, but it's healthy for my mind as well. I do many other exercises to train for tennis, like running and lifting weights. I hope to be a professional tennis player one day. My goal is to do well in high school, so I receive a scholarship for college. Now let's go back and reread each paragraph, then answer some questions. I like to take a look at the questions before I read so that I have an idea of the answer I'm looking for. So for the first paragraph, the questions are, number 1, why does Patricia like to cook? Number 2, what does Patricia dislike about cooking? Now let's read, and this time I'd like you to read with me. You ready? Patricia. I love to cook. I like planning meals, shopping for ingredients, and cooking for my family. I like to cook because it is relaxing. Also, I like to control the ingredients and preparation. The best thing about cooking is eating and spending time with my family and friends. One thing I don't like about cooking is cleaning up afterwards. I'm lucky because my children usually clean the kitchen for me. Now pause the video and write the questions and answers in your notebook. Let's see how you did. Number 1, why does Patricia like to cook? Well, go back into the reading and look for the answer. There are actually a few reasons here why Patricia likes to cook. You only need to give one. So an answer can be, Patricia likes to cook because it is relaxing. Question number 2, what does Patricia dislike about cooking? Well, in the reading, I see one thing I don't like about cooking is cleaning up afterwards. So your answer can be, she dislikes cleaning up after cooking. Let's read the second paragraph. The question for the second paragraph is, what does recommendation mean? So let's read together and find that answer. Edward. My favorite thing to do is read. When I visit the library to get new books, I usually have a book in mind, but occasionally I browse the shelves. If I am having trouble finding a good book, I will ask friends or family for recommendations. I like to read about new people and places. I can go on an adventure without leaving my comfortable couch. Now pause the video and write the question and answer in your notebook. Let's see how you did with question 3. What does recommendation mean? Well, go back into the reading and let's reread the sentence that talks about recommendations. If I am having trouble finding a good book, I will ask friends or family for recommendations. So what does recommendation mean? Well, I'm asking them for something that they think I should read. So recommendation means to give a suggestion. For example, I recommend you read Harry Potter. Or you can say, my recommendation is Harry Potter. So my friend or my family member recommended a book for me to read. I'll see if I can find it at the library. Let's reread the third paragraph, and here are the questions. Number 4, what can be frustrating about fishing? Number 5, what is Jeffrey's advice for avoiding frustration? So let's go back and reread and find the answers to these questions. Jeffrey, fishing is my favorite activity. I love going to the river early in the morning when it is peaceful and quiet. Having fresh fish for dinner is a bonus. My favorite fish is bass. Sometimes I feel frustrated if I don't catch anything, but I remind myself that I am fishing for fun, not for work. Now pause the video and write the questions and answers in your notebook. Let's see how you did. Number 4, what can be frustrating about fishing? Well, go back into the reading and find where it talks about Jeffrey's frustration. And you'll see the answer to question 4 is fishing can be frustrating if you don't catch anything. And number 5, what is Jeffrey's advice for avoiding frustration? Well, let's go back and see what he said. The answer to number 5 is Jeffrey's advice is to remember fishing is fun. Let's go back and reread the last paragraph. The question for this paragraph is number 6. What is the difference between singles and doubles? So let's read together and find out. Gloria, tennis is my sport of choice. In tennis, you can play singles or doubles. I prefer singles. Tennis is good exercise for my body, but it's healthy for my mind too. I do many other exercises to train for tennis, like running and lifting weights. I hope to be a professional tennis player one day. My goal is to do well in high school, so I receive a college scholarship. Now pause the video and write the question and the answer in your notebook. Let's see how you did. Now this is a tricky question because it doesn't give the exact answer in the reading. You have to use what you know about English and these vocabulary words to answer the question. So the question number 6 is, what is the difference between singles and doubles? In the reading, it talks about how you can play singles or doubles and that Gloria prefers singles. But the definition for singles and doubles is not included. So take a minute to think about these two words in another context. Single and double ice cream scoops, for example. When you're ordering a single ice cream scoop, how many do you get in your cup or cone? When you order a double ice cream scoop, how many do you get in your cup or cone? So when you think about it, you'll find that the difference between singles and doubles is single means 1 and double means 2. A single ice cream scoop would be 1 scoop of mint chocolate chip, for example. A double ice cream scoop would be 2 scoops of that mint chocolate chip ice cream. And when we're talking about tennis, in singles, you play against another person, so you and your opponent. But in doubles tennis, you play with a partner. You and your partner play against 2 other people. So there you see the words single and double used in tennis. Now we're moving on to writing. And this writing is for our beginner students. So if you're ready for more of a challenge, then skip this slide and go to the next one. So why do we write? Well, we write to provide information about a subject or topic. And then we add details using WH questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. In this example, I wrote about the hobby swimming. So let's take a look at how I added details using these WH questions. So let's start with number 1, what? And here's where you write about what your hobby is. In my example, I swim, or I can say, I like to swim. And you can use any vocabulary words that work for you in your life. For example, I read, I cook, or I like to dance. Number 2 is why. Why do you enjoy your hobby? I swim because it is fun. Or, I like to swim because it is fun. And here are some other options. It is good exercise. It is relaxing. It is fun. It is healthy. Number 3 is the word who. With whom do you do your hobby? I swim by myself. Or, I like to swim by myself. Some other options are with my friends, with my family, or by myself. Number 4 is the word where. Where do you do your hobby? I swim in my pool. Or, I like to swim in my pool. And some other examples can be at my house, in my yard, or on my couch. And for the word when do you do your hobby? I swim on Saturday. Or, I like to swim on Saturday. Some other examples are one day a week, every day, on the weekend, or once a month. So when we put it all together, we have a few sentences about swimming. I swim. I swim because it is fun. I swim by myself. I swim in my pool. I swim on Saturday. And keep in mind, you can rearrange these sentences. You can add other details. The more you practice, the better you'll get. So I'd like you to pause the video now and in your notebook, choose a hobby and try to write a few sentences adding details using the words what, why, who, where, or when. And take a look at my chart for some examples if you need help. Good luck. Now let's move on to writing for our intermediate students. If you just finished the beginner writing and that was comfortable for you, great job. Skip this slide and go to the next one. So, why do we write? Well, we write to give information about a subject or a topic. And in this case, we're going to write about our favorite hobby. Our goal is to write a paragraph. Remember, a paragraph is about 5 to 6 sentences about your topic. You are going to include details using question words. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. But as intermediate students, you're also going to add additional details to your writing to spice it up a little bit. So I want you to think about a few things when you're writing about your favorite hobby. You can also include your feelings, how you feel about your hobby, and how your hobby makes you feel. You can include your motivation. Why is your hobby important to you? Why do you make time for it? You can include sensory words, so add details about what you see, hear, smell, touch, or taste while you're doing your hobby. And you can also include some how-to directions. So if you are telling somebody about your hobby, tell them how they can do it too. You don't have to add every detail to every paragraph. You're going to pick and choose what works well for what you're writing at the time. Let's take a look at my example, and you'll see that I included details about the basics, but I also thought about some of my extra details that I could add, feelings, motivation, sensory words, or how-to directions, and added some of those as well. I wrote, I like to swim. I have been swimming for 2 years. I swim at the gym. I go to the gym in the mornings before work. I usually take the weekends off. It is hard to wake up early in the morning, especially when it is cold and dark, but it is worth it. I have improved a lot since I started swimming. I can now swim 1 mile and I feel so proud. So pause the video now and take some time to write your own paragraph about your favorite hobby. Think about all of the details you can add using the WH questions and some of the extra ideas in these 4 boxes. Good luck! The last part of today's lesson is some conversation practice, and this is good for all levels. The best way to improve your conversational skills is to practice, practice, practice. When you're having a conversation with someone, you may hear two phrases, which we'll review now. The first one is, let's talk about. And in this case, our topic is hobbies. Let's talk about hobbies. So that starts the conversation. And then I can say, my hobby is to garden. I like gardening because I love flowers. Flowers make my yard so colorful. And then you may hear the phrase, tell me more. The person that you're talking with would like some more detail. So you're going to add some things to your conversation. So in my example, I can add, well, I also have a vegetable garden in my yard. I grow many different vegetables in the summer. For example, I grow cucumbers, tomatoes, and peppers. So when you're having conversations with people, keep an open ear to these phrases, and that will help your conversational skills. Good luck.